Friday, we had a new jobs report from the government, and everybody in the mainstream media and Wall Street said it looked pretty good. However, today, our guest on the radio show, Michael Snyder, pointed out how it's not as good as you may think. He said, why the jobs report is not nearly as strong as you're being told. Although there are 7.8 million Americans that are considered to be officially unemployed, reality is they're ignoring about 94% of the people who are unemployed. Here's how that works out. You have an adjusted number and you have an unadjusted number. You know, it was back in the Bill Clinton administration that they got pretty smart and said, we're going to not count people who have been out of work for a certain amount of time. We're going to redefine what unemployed means. But the people who are really looking at the economy, people like private analysts who are working for various corporations, really do understand what's going on. They know what the real numbers are. We're going to look at some other metrics that tell us that the economy is not doing as well as these phony numbers from the Obama administration. This is a Mitsubishi strategist, John Herman. He wrote a short note right after the report. He said, job headlines overstates the strength of payrolls. He added that the unadjusted data shows a middling report that's nowhere as strong as the headline. And he added that the private payrolls unadjusted were only 85,000 higher in July versus the seasonally adjusted 217,000. In his view, the government applied a, quote, very benign seasonal adjustment factor upon private payrolls to transform a soft private payroll gain into a strong gain. In other words, not anything to be worried about. It's very benign when they go in and fudge the numbers and say they've got nearly 3 times as many new jobs as they did before because they do a seasonal adjustment. So they adjust the unemployment numbers for people that are no longer looking for work because they've been out a certain amount of time, and then they do a seasonal adjustment to make the number of new jobs look better. They point out in this article from Michael Snyder, over the past several years, since 2001, as a matter of fact, we have seen a very troubling trend. And if you look at this chart, what you'll see is the fact that we had the massive drop-off in jobs, and that happened with the crash back in 2008, 2009. And you see that it has gradually come back, but only partially. And what he points out is that in every recession that we had before 2001, what would happen is you would not only get back to the level that you were before the recession, but usually you would go much higher than you had been before. It would actually recover and go beyond where it had been until the next time you had a downturn. What we're seeing now is that as we have these recessions, we're only recovering about 30% of where we had been before. We're not even getting back to where we had been at that point. Another metric that shows us what's going on, of course, is the oil business. Now, we have seen today talk that OPEC's current president says that the oil cartel will hold informal side meetings in late September. This is a report from New American. This is code, they say, for higher prices for crude oil so that those member states can pay for their welfare states without continuing to drain their currency reserves. Well, they hope they can do that. The reality is that demand is down. There's been a gas war, quite literally. I remember back when I was a child, there used to be gas wars where filling stations on various corners one of them would drop their price and then the other one would drop theirs and they would see who could go the lowest. That's what we've been seeing on an international level. We have seen the Saudis and OPEC in general try to drive out the new means of domestic production here in America through fracking. And they're not winning. And what we've seen with a massive decline in the wholesale price of oil is because they have continued to produce at these higher levels. Rather than cutting production, they continue to produce in the face of declining demand. Declining demand in oil tells us that the global economy is not doing well. Now they're saying that they've had enough, essentially. They're throwing in the towel. And we saw this reported about a week or so ago from the Telegraph. They say Texas shale oil has fought Saudi Arabia to a standstill. Remember, it was only, I guess, about a year ago that we were talking about projections that they might get down to $40 a barrel, or they might get down to, then it became $20 a barrel. And it's like, well, how low can they go? The Saudis said, we can take this down to 20 and we can hold it there until we shut down all the domestic shale oil production in the United States. But guess what happened? We've got this report from the Telegraph where a fracking executive says that they can go down, their costs can go down to $2.25 per barrel pre-tax. Okay, so basically what they have done with shale oil is to fight the Saudis into capitulation. So now the Saudis are saying, well, we're now going to cut supply to see if we can get the price up. They've had enough. They've thrown in the towel, so to speak. We'll see what happens. But the bottom line is that we see from these metrics that we're not seeing a recovering economy here in America. We're not seeing a recovering economy globally. We have seen the stock market that has been stimulated artificially, and we've seen other things that are being done like rigged job reports because they don't want people to get a sense that the economy is not doing well. Are people that stupid? Can they not figure out what's really going on in the economy? Remember when Bill Clinton ran, they said, it's the economy, stupid. Focus on the economy. And we see that Donald Trump did that today very concisely and surgically. He went to a place where we have seen Democrat policies have their full fruition here in the United States. That, of course, is Detroit, Michigan. It is a shell of its former self. It's one of the poorest areas in the country, having once been one of the richest areas in the country. And why is that? Two reasons: Democrat economic policies on the welfare state and an exportation of our manufacturing base abroad. And so Donald Trump went there to lay out his economic proposals. He went after his Democrat opponent on Monday, told Americans they can expect to see more devastating economic effects like Michigan's once bustling industrial metropolis if Hillary Clinton becomes president. He said, the city of Detroit is the living, breathing example of my opponent's failed economic agenda. He said, Detroit tops a list of the most dangerous cities in terms of violent crime. These are the silenced victims whose stories are never told by Hillary Clinton, but the victims whose suffering is no less real or permanent. And here's the bottom line, folks. Why did it get this way besides the massive export of jobs, which she still supports? She and her vice presidential candidate, Kaine, support the continued export of our jobs through TPP, through TTIP, the Transatlantic, Trans-Pacific trade deals that they say. They're about far more than trade, but they will allow our country's economy to be managed by people abroad. But here's the bottom line that Donald Trump gets to. He said the one common feature of every Hillary Clinton idea is that it punishes you for working and for doing business in the United States. Every policy she has tilts the playing field toward other countries at our expense. And when we go back and we look at what's happening in the Texas shale oil business, when we look at what's happened to our coal business, why did the coal business shut down? We've talked many times about how you could have, there are completely clean coal burning plants that don't emit any carbon dioxide, if that's your concern. Quite frankly, I don't buy man-made global warming, but if you're concerned about that, that's not an issue. Nevertheless, Obama has decided that he will shut down the coal industry. He said when he was running the first time, yeah, you can build a coal plant, but it'll bankrupt you. And now he is bankrupting West Virginia and the other places who have ample supply of coal and other fossil fuels that could be used cleanly. The bottom line is, if we are allowed to compete, America can come back. But we have a government that is our biggest obstacle to wealth. And so Trump proposed a plan. He said, we're not only going to make America great again, we're going to grow America again. And he has released a few things that are interesting. But of course, the mainstream media doesn't cover that. What you'll see in most of these mainstream media reports, if you look at it, they'll say, well, Donald Trump said he's going to reduce some taxes. He's going to reduce the number of different income tax brackets. In other words, simplify the tax code in a number of ways, give us tax credits for child care and some other things. But let's talk about his bad week last week. Let's talk about the fight that he had with the Sharia lawyer, Khan. That's what they do in virtually every one of these stories. They'll briefly talk about what he has proposed financially, the fact that he wants to reduce and simplify the tax code. I would like to see the tax code just eliminated, but simplification and reduction is a good beginning. We might ask why the government would not allow us to get credits for the things that it says are so important that they have to provide them for us or force us to get them. See, that's the difference in the way Trump approaches this. We can see specificity in his proposals. Many Republican establishment people have criticized him. They say, look, he says he's going to repeal and replace Obamacare, but we need details. We have reported here at InfoWars many times about the details in Donald Trump's health care plan. He has a very detailed proposal on his site, and it's been there for about 6 or 7 months. he has talked about what he wants to do. And basically, as a reinstatement of this, when he talks about the proposal, he has a very detailed 7-point plan. And if you look at it, it's very much market-oriented and against mandates and against federal control. Instead of holding a gun to your head, what he'll do is give you an incentive with tax deductions, allow you to set up a health savings account, give competition a chance, because we have a government that wants to talk about free trade, but they don't want to have free trade in America, competition in America on insurance rates. So they draw lines around the states and say, no, you can't have an insurance company that's in this state compete in another state. They create artificial barriers to trade because the rules were written by the crony capitalists. So when we look at his healthcare reform plan, which is very detailed, and it's an economic issue for sure, here it is: repeal Obamacare. No person should be required to buy insurance. Eliminate the individual mandate. Number 2, modify existing law that inhibits the sale of health insurance across state lines. Number 3, allow individuals to fully deduct their health insurance premiums. Incentivize it, in other words, and then give us the information to know who the low-cost healthcare providers are. Provide price transparency, price information, so you can make that decision. Give you power as a consumer, give you the freedom as a consumer, create a free market with competition, and then give you information about the price of healthcare providers. That's basically it. It's a free market approach. And so if you want to know the specificity about it, he hasn't talked about it a lot in his speeches, but it's there on his website. It's a very market-oriented approach.
This is the answer for your children to totally absorb the multivitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, everything at once. Unveil Vitamin Mineral Fusion Advanced Multivitamin Formula, 30 servings, fruit punch flavored dietary supplement. It is simply amazing. InfoWarsLife.com.
There's a million different products like this out there that they're good in different ways. But this takes all of the vitamins, all of the essential amino acids, all of the essential compounds and minerals that you need, puts it into something that's great tasting as opposed to like clumpy, gross stuff. And you can put it in your drink every morning. I put it in my protein shake. It is the platinum standard, in my view, of multivitamins in terms of an advanced multi-drink vitamin.
The cleanest, the purest, new stuff had to be invented. That's why it took this long to even bring us something this good.
Some companies are going to take a small amount of vitamins and make it, so there's so much filler, it looks like there's a lot. This is ultra concentrated. We're not playing games here. Okay,
well, that's my philosophy. That's your philosophy.
Yeah,
I want to, but again, there's some great stuff out there.
Yeah,
and there's other,
No, of course, definitely.
There's other powders I promote at InfoWarsHealth.com. Yeah, they're excellent. I mean, there's some good stuff out there. This is just the very best we can bring you, and when you buy it, you support InfoWars, you support the reporters, you support yourself. Tell folks about some of these other things that are in this and why this is just this total, complete package for your body. Because, again, we didn't put the synthetic amino acids. We didn't put the synthetic vitamins. We put the plant-based, high-quality, clean, natural ingredients into this.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got your standard vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, the list goes on.
A huge amount of vitamin C, by the way. Tell folks about that.
1,000+% of your daily value, which is what you need. Because the, FDA guidelines, we all know about those. Zinc, magnesium, selenium, L-glutamine. Each one of these, you could go on for about 10 minutes about the benefits of these things. Alpha-lipoic acid, folic acid, calcium, and the list goes on. 34 other ones you can check out. Go to InfoWarsLife.com. The label's up there. You've got the entire ingredients list that you can neurotically examine for yourself. And just... By
the way, look on the other side, too, because we're showing people the... minerals and things. Let's look at the vitamins right there. All it's got in there. I mean, it's amazing.
Top left.
Again, if you're radio listeners, InfoWars.com/show. Vitamin A has 4,333% from beta carotene and what's that other source? I just know that's all the best sources.
Retinol. So you've also got your vitamin D at 1,000 IU, which is a large dose, actually. And you know what? Some people could say, well, isn't this competing with your other products? Well, yeah, you know what? We could be like some people and just take all the stuff that we sell also at InfoWarsLife.com and not put any of it, but then it wouldn't be a balanced formula, and we're not going to do that. And it might actually hurt us in the long run to put all the best stuff in here, but that's just the way we got to do it, because we can't start thinking like that.
So get them today, InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139.